Good afternoon and welcome to the November Ordinary Council meeting. Item 1, acknowledgement. We, Greater Shepparton City Council, acknowledge the Yorta peoples of the land which now comprises Greater Shepparton. We pay our respect to their tribal elders, we celebrate their continuing culture, and we acknowledge the memory of their ancestors. Item 2, privacy notice. This public meeting is being streamed live via our Facebook page and made available for public access on our website, along with the official minutes of this meeting. Care is taken to maintain your privacy. However, as a visitor in the public gallery, it is assumed that your consent is given in the event that your image is broadcast to the public. It is also assumed that your consent is given to the use and disclosure of any information that you share at the meeting, including personal or sensitive information, to any person who accesses those recordings or minutes, and we welcome the member in the gallery this afternoon. Item 3, governance principles. Council considers the recommendations contained in this agenda gives effect to the overarching governance principles stated in section 9 of the Local Government Act 2020, and these principles are as followed. Councillors, they're listed 1 to 9 on page 6. Item 4, apologies. No apologies today. Item 5, declarations of conflict of interest. Councillors, do we have any conflicts this afternoon?
Yes, I have a conflict of interest with item 11.2.
Are there any other councillors with conflicts this afternoon? No, very good. Item 6, confirmation of the minutes of the previous meeting. Asked for a mover and a seconder. Are there any minutes? Are there any of the minutes opposed? No. Can I have a councillor please move that?
So moved, Mayor Salem.
Councillor Schubert, can I have a councillor second that? Mr Wickham. Councillors all in favour? Motion carried. Item 7, public question time, nil received. Item 8, questions and petitions, nil received. Councillors, page 8, item 9.1. Contracts awarded under delegation, October 2025. There is a recommendation. Can I have a councillor put that forward as a motion, please? Councillor Spinks.
Thank you. I'll move that the Council 1 note the contracts awarded under delegation pursuant to a formal procurement process for the reporting period, and 2, note the request for tender advertised but not yet awarded.
Thank you. Can I second that motion? Councillor Wickham. Councillor Spinks, would you like to speak to the motion?
Just to explain, this is our monthly tenders under delegation item that hits us every month. This is simply for the transparency of understanding what has been approved or is in the process of a tender beneath us, and making sure it comes to the transparency of a council meeting.
Thank you. Councillor Wickham, would you like to speak? Good. Any councillors like to speak against the motion? Any councillors like to speak for the motion? Councillors will go to the vote. All those in favour? Motion carried, unopposed. Councillors, page 11, item 9.2, October 2025 monthly financial report. There is a recommendation. Can I have a councillor put that forward as a motion, please?
Happy to do that.
Councillor Akers. Can I have a councillor second that motion, please?
The motion, Ms. Ali.
Akers, would you like to speak to the motion?
Yes, that the council note the October 25 monthly financial report is attached. Yeah, look, pretty much on track, and as to be expected, other than a couple of little things that probably made some changes as the year has gone along. Predicting a surplus of current have a surplus position of $69.3 million, and that's just as a result of the upfront of the rates for the year, which happens every year, and we're on track to now predict a operating surplus of $2.5 million. That's slightly reduced to the initial budget as a result of our rehabilitation works at Kidstown, which I think has been received positively throughout the community, and the other adjustments are basically about some grants which were received each side of the financial year that we didn't, the 30th of June, which we probably didn't expect. Council has delivered $16.8 million worth of capital works to date so far, which is good, and we've now got a full year forecast of $69.91 million, and that's just 3.49 above the budget that was adopted, and that's purely about, once again, projects started and finished each side of the 30th of June. So pretty much on track to where we expected.
Thank you, Councillor Akers. Councillor Brophy, would you like to speak to the motion?
Yeah, thank you, Mayor Saleh. Now that we're into our second quadrant of the fiscal year, we see where we are tracking, and importantly, we are, as Councillor Aker said, on budget. Prediction is that we're going to come at the year end of an operating surplus of about $2.5 million, and that's good. We're tracking well with that. But a lot of water still to go under the bridge between now and then. Our liquidity ratio is tracking at 187%, and that's due to maintain through until the 30th of June next year at this particular rate. It means that we're in a sound financial position, but we don't need to be complacent. We need to be obviously financially sustainable, so that we can afford to do projects that we need to do when pretty much the envy of a number of other councils at this point.
Thank you, Councillor Brophy. Any councillors like to speak against the motion? Any councillors like to speak for the motion? We'll go to the vote. All those in favour? Motion carried, unopposed. Councillors, page 14, item 10.1, Spring Car Nationals. There is a recommendation. Can I have a councillor put that forward as a motion, please? Councillor Brophy.
Thank you, Mayor Saley. I put forward the recommendation that the council authorise the Chief Executive Officer to sign a new venue agreement in line with the additional event requirements outlined in this report to support the Spring Car Nationals event in Greater Shepparton for a further 3 years, 2027 through to 2029.
Can I have a councillor second that motion, please?
Second that, Mayor Saley.
Councillor Brophy, would you like to speak to the
Mayor
motion?
Sully, I'd like to request that we lay this item on the table while we wait for some impending reports to come.
Okay, very good. Happy to have that considered, councillors. We just need to simply vote on laying this motion on the table. So councillors that are in favour of laying this motion on the table to please raise their hand. Those against? Motion lost. We will continue where we were. Councillor Brophy, if you'd like to continue speaking to the motion.
Thank you, Mayor Saley. Look, far from finalising an agreement that's currently in place, and after 30 years of history with the Spring Car Nationals, the future of this event is, I hope, ensured that we continue for a number of years going forward. The agreement is for, after next year's event, 3 more years. And the organisers had requested 10 years on top of next year's event, and I would think, maybe, in my opinion, 5 would have been appropriate. However, the organisers were happy to take the 3 years and to be able to put things in play with sponsorship, etc. Alterations can be looked at over the coming 12 months, and there are a number of, they come back, and we'll have a look at that when they do come back. Perhaps something that may be revamped in regards to, say, the biggest lap, for instance, that they currently do through the CBD to encapsulate perhaps even the lake precinct at some point in time. This needs to be looked at through to ensure that safety is paramount no matter what they decide. But I see hope here, and it draws big crowds, and the enthusiasts that do support this event. It also supports our hospitality industry and our commercial enterprises in the city as well. Yes, it can be noisy, and yeah, sometimes it can be pretty smelly with the burnouts, but it's only one weekend a year, and there's a multitude of restrictions that have been placed on the organisers over a period of time as well. We do take complaints seriously that we do receive, and we will certainly monitor the event. But that said, well done to Les Adams and his fabulous committee for the work that they've put in and all the volunteers that go into it to make another successful, hopefully, Spring Car Nationals here in Shepparton.
Thank you, Councillor Brophy. Councillor Eddie, would you like to speak to the motion?
I'll just echo what Councillor Brophy's had to say, but I will say that it's an easy decision to support this event for another 3 years.
Thank you, Councillor Eddie. Any councillors like to speak against the motion? Councillor Spinks.
Thank you. Okay, well, I guess this is the opportunity to explain why I wanted to lay it on the table. Within the report, it outlines that there are a couple of very key investigations, consultations that are going to happen in the next few months. One being from the CFA, who were strongly impacted by last year's event unexpectedly and intend to do a report. Let me read exactly what it is. To address air quality risks, FRV will undertake their own atmospheric monitoring throughout this year's 2025 event, being the event happening this coming weekend, assessing carbon monoxide, volatile organic compounds, airborne smoke levels. Findings will inform future risk management at their facilities. As well, the council itself seeks to undergo an economic analysis of the event to actually understand in its current modern version of the event, how much economic, I guess, impact does the event have in our region. And both of these, I would argue, knowing that they are coming within the next few months, having the event happening next weekend, are information that we should have at hand so that we can make this decision on the future of the event. None of this is about whether we support Spring Nats or not. I support Spring Nats. I like the event. I fully appreciate and understand that it serves a part of our community who take great value from the event. But I think what we have in front of us and what we need to start asking is the Shepparton Showgrounds still an appropriate venue for this event? And within the report, it would start to suggest that it isn't. We have the Fire Rescue Victoria indicating that they have been very negatively impacted and have potential health concerns around the burnout section of the event. We have SPC having been annually impacted in their productivity and efficiency. They continue to give that feedback to us. The Woolworths complex across the road, acknowledging they have commercial benefits from increased sales, still ask for the event to be relocated because of negative operational, environmental and safety impacts considered. Noting this is all in the reports, publicly available information that we all have in front of us, and recognising that when we've had discussions over time of saying, well, where could we move it to? None of the other locations that get suggested are acceptable because there's too much residential build up around them, which is the same issue. How can that not be acceptable at those locations, but is somehow acceptable within the showgrounds? So I feel like this is a bit of a controversial one to speak against, so I'm very wary of that. This is not, so I want to be really clear, this is not about the Spring Nuts event. I value that and I want that to stay in Shepparton. But I think we have to ask, is it still appropriate for it to be held at the showgrounds? And at what point is it no longer appropriate for it to be at the showgrounds? And knowing that we have more information about to come to us, I cannot say that I am fully informed and able to vote on this before us today. And so at this point I intend to abstain from the vote. And I would encourage you all to as well. I wish that we could hold this over for just a few more months so that we could vote on it with all of that information in front of us. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Spinks. Any councillors like to speak for the motion? Councillor Schubert.
Yeah, thank you, Mayor Sarli. Look, I say it brings in between $500 and $1 million annually. We get 30,000 visitors at the event each and every year, and we've had 5 complaints. The maths just don't add up for me in any way, shape or form to relocate it, to shift it, to change anything. And some round the table might even think that a 3-year deal is not good enough in terms of making sure that the organisers of this event feel secure enough to proceed with it. I'm not in any way, shape or form in agreement with what Councillor Spinks has suggested. I think we should vote this up, and as I said, I'm a little bit hesitant because it's only 3 years rather than 5 or 10, but 3 years is what we've agreed to, so, or what's been suggested, so I would certainly support that motion.
Thank you, Councillor Schubert. Any other councillors like to speak to the motion? Councillor Summer.
Thank you. Over the years, we've heard numerous concerns about this event. It's noted that it did move to the showgrounds in 2009, and arguably it's quite divisive in the community, but it does have a lot of benefits, and it does have a handful of complaints. Obviously not everybody's cup of tea, particularly the burnout competition, but it has been a Shepparton institution for some time, and for the sake of a couple of days a year, we get up to $1 million return, as Councillor Schubert said. There is no perfect location. It feels like waiting for more information could be looking for excuses to move it somewhere else, which would have almost exactly the same problems and issues that we have at the moment. I don't think it's very fair for the organisers who've come to us and said they wanted 10 years, and we've come back and said 3, to then make them wait and put that whole process in limbo for them again. I think we need to be staunchly confident that it's going to stay at the showgrounds for a couple of days a year, bring us all the money, bring us all the culture, because it is culture, whether you like it or not. There are a group of people out there who just love cars. So I support it going ahead for the next 3 years and would be open to discussions on extending that even further in the future.
Thank you, councillor Summer. Any other councillors like to speak to the motion? I just want to add some thoughts to it and obviously acknowledge what councillor Spinks is saying. I think the most important thing that we can say from this councillor group is that if we do support this, this doesn't mean that we're dismissive of any information that comes to us in the early parts of next year. What it means is that we're willing to work with all people to facilitate this event that's been historically well received in and around our community. So we're not dismissing the concerns raised from businesses or FRV. It's more around what are those issues that you raise? How can we then continue to work with the event organisers to make this a successful event for Greater Shepparton, not just surrounding businesses and so on. So I'm really keen to have those conversations. I did share with councillor Spinks that I would be expecting that if information was to come to us that provided a substantial risk of having this event, then as all good councils would do in any particular circumstance, would sit back around the table with the event organisers to determine what a future looks like in making sure that it's safe for all people in and around our region. But for now, let's give it that commitment. Let's show that confidence that this is an iconic event. It's on this weekend, so it's a fitting time to consider endorsing this. Right, a reply, councillor Brophy?
Thank you, Mayor Sali. Thank you, councillor Spinks, for raising those sensitivities in and around that. And we are mindful, we're not walking away from that, hence that's why we are monitoring it. And I think that's really important that we do that. And yes, taking into consideration SPC, FRV, and of course the supermarket and the residents as well. To some degree, it depends on which way the wind blows on that particular day as to whether the smoke filters through to the manufacturing and the industries, or whether it goes across to the residents, or whether it just stays put out of the showgrounds. The EPA have ticked off on it previously to say that having that one-off event is quite within the realms to do so. So let's just see what the report comes back, but in the meantime...
Point of clarification, they didn't tick off on it. They said it wasn't their remit because it's only a one-day event, so it wasn't. Just, sorry, clarify.
Yeah, I was clarifying that in the sense that people have gone to the EPA with their complaints regarding that, and they're fine with that.
Yes.
With it being held over that one weekend. Yeah. They might not be happy about it, but they're not. They haven't come in and said that it's not correct.
We're happy with that clarification?
Well, I mean, might have to agree to disagree. It's that they aren't saying it's environmentally fine. They're saying they don't make decisions over one-day events, so they don't have any response to it. So it's,
Councillor Sally, can we
Neutral.
do a director for...
Well, we can get that, well, first of all, the clarification is provided
fine.
in the report.
I
It's just, yeah, it's just if you want additional information, then I can seek that through Fiona if you want additional.
I accept the response. It's fine.
Fine, thank you. Anything else, councillor Brophy?
No, thank you very much.
Very good. Councillors, we'll go to the vote. All those in favour? Against? Motion carried. Councillors, page 23, item 10.2, Goulburn Region Tourism Memorandum of Understanding. There is a recommendation. Can I have a councillor put that forward as a motion, please? Do that. Councillor Akers.
Thank you, Mayor Sali, that Council authorise the Chief Executive Officer to sign the Memorandum of Understanding to support the Goulburn Region Tourism as Council's Visitor Economy Partnership 2025-26 to 2028-29 as attached.
Thank you, councillor Akers. Can I, councillor, second that motion, please? Councillor Brophy.
I second that motion, Mayor Sali.
Councillor Akers, would you like to speak to the motion?
Yes, just quickly. Look, the Victorian Government has commenced the statewide transition to the Visitor Economy Partnership, or the VEP framework, a new approach to regional tourism in the state of Victoria. Visitor Economy Partnerships, which were formerly regional tourism boards, will become the peak bodies for all visitor economy related matters within the regions of Victoria. And there's a number of identified regions across Victoria, and ultimately you've got to be 3 local government areas at least, and so the Goulburn Region Visitor Economy Partnership, which we're part of, covers Greater Shepparton City Council, Strathbogie Shire Council and Mitchell Shire Council. And we've got a number of legal structures and legal entities and structures in place for the operation of the new organisation. I mean, what's attractive to it for us is that the government's put up $350,000 for each of these partnerships, so that's a good start for an organisation to attract visitors to the region and identify what is unique for us. Our contribution will be $121,000 a year. So the organisation has a total budget of between 500,000 and 600,000, close to 600,000. So to work without, that's upfront money without attracting any further funds. So it's a good start. Key actions for the Goulburn region in its foundational years will be to deliver actions in the Goulburn region destination management plan and to support the delivery of the Goulburn region visitor services plan, and both of which were developed in collaboration with the 3 municipalities and local industry representatives. Happy to leave it at that.
Thank you, Councillor Akers. Councillor Brophy, would you like to speak to the motion?
Thank you, Mayor Sarley. I think we, as councillors, have queried this particular item that has come before us over the last few months, and I certainly have queried the identity of tourism, if you like, in the region, and what part of the Victorian tourism jigsaw do we actually really belong to? Because what do we stand for in regards to tourism? I mean, we do have our own branding, which is Shepparton and the Goulburn Valley. There is the Destinations Goulburn Valley, business-led tourism-based organisation, and now we have this. And I was thinking initially, well, is this overkill? But I don't think it is. I think I've reconciled in the fact that I'm convinced that we need to be part of this Goulburn region tourism. And really this particular setup is a tourism umbrella for our region. It's backed by the state government, surprisingly, and somewhat carrot-led financially, and it actually makes sense to be part of it. We need to be part of it, but we also need to be a major part and a major player in this as well.
Thank you, Councillor Brophy. Any councillors like to speak against the motion? Any councillors against?
We'll speak against, I'm not sure how I'll vote yet, but I do have some concerns. I'll speak against just because it seems a lot like deja vu. These tourism proposals have been coming to council for some time now, and the same issues seem to arise. For instance, once again, we are paying the lion's share contribution towards this, $1,000, and I haven't seen anything tangible of what's going to come back. And in the past, what we've seen is that we pay the lion's share and other regions get the benefit from it. But there are some positives to this as well. One point of difference is that it's backed by the state government, as Councillor Brophy said. It might mean that we are finally in the tourism jigsaw puzzle of all of Victoria, which is something we've wanted to do for a long time. So that one thing is fantastic. The other point of difference is the strong representation that we have on there. Our CEO and Elena Tuckett from Elsewhere at Sam, who I have very strong confidence in. I just don't want to see this going the way of every other tourist initiative where all the money gets sucked up by the middleman, goes on reports, nothing tangible comes out of it, and we pat ourselves on the back for doing a good job. I want to see actual visitation to Greater Shepparton because we have so much to offer. Whether this broader approach or whether a more local approach is more effective, I don't know. But at this early stage, I'm probably willing to give it the benefit of the doubt.
Thank you, Councillor Summer. Any councillors like to speak for the motion? Any other councillors like to speak to the motion? Right, a reply, Councillor Akers.
Oh, thank you, Mayor Sarley. Look, I'm sure we've got the governance structures in right and the right personnel in place to make sure this has the best opportunity to deliver for Greater Shepparton. We don't always take the lead from the state government, and I'm certainly not looking to always do that, but here they put a significant carrot on the table. We're missing out a little bit in this region, and this is probably the best opportunity we've seen to deliver in this space for Greater Shepparton.
Thank you. Councillors, we'll go to the vote. All those in favour? Again? Oh, we'll do it again, sorry. All those in favour? Motion carried on opposed. Councillors, page 30, item 10.3, response to notice of motion, zero emissions by 2030 plan. There is a recommendation. Can I have the councillor put that forward as a motion, please?
Yes, I'll put it forward as a motion. Thank you, Mayor Saley.
Councillor Schubert.
Page 30 of 72, that the council receive and note the findings for the review on the Climate Emergency Action Plan and the 2030 Zero Emission Plans, which has been prepared in response to a notice of motion on the 8/2025.
Thank you. Can I have a councillor second that motion, please?
Second that, Mayor Saley.
Ready? Councillor Schubert, would you like to speak to the motion?
Yes, I certainly would, Mayor Saley. Look, I've spent a lot of time and due and careful consideration on this matter. And on the 23rd of September, council resolved to undertake a review of the Climate Emergency Action Plan with the scope of the review to include an assessment of council achieving net zero emissions by 2030, the financial costs of implementing the plan to date, which was crucial, and the review to be completed by the November 20th, 2025. Council have now completed that review and I'd like to elaborate on it. The subject of zero emissions certainly is an emotive and divisive subject, and there are passionate groups with both that all have strong points of view. Those that believe in striving for net zero is an absurd fantasy which we strive for at our peril. Just look at how much our gas electricity prices have increased. I have been advised by many ratepayers in my ward. However, I also have ratepayers advising me that pollution from coal, oil and gas is overheating our planet and putting Australians in harm's way. Our communities are now suffering through more frequent and intense extreme weather events. And by slashing global climate pollution, we can help limit the worst impacts and keep Australians safer while creating new jobs and industries is the alternative point of view. A most difficult subject to respond to in so many ways. Council staff have done an outstanding job in their undertaking of the review. They make reference to the many strategies that have been introduced, including the Greater Shepparton's Climate Emergency Action Plan and the 2030 Zero Emissions Plan, two comprehensive documents that were formed following substantial community consultation. Both plans are due to be updated in the near future, which is good news, especially as the total cost to implement the plans is currently over 1.6 million. Have we had enough return for our investment? Are we spending ratepayers' money wisely? In reading the report that's detailed in the OCM papers today, I'm very pleased about a couple of things. The update of the Zero Emissions by 2030 Action Plan is to prioritise the implementation of actions within the council plan for 2025 to 2029. That represents the best value for the community and provides savings. So they're looking at what provides the best value for the community and what provides the best savings. Outstanding. This is what I have been seeking. I want to ensure that we are spending the ratepayers' money wisely and we are obtaining a return on our investment. Whilst I'm currently satisfied with the review and the outcomes, I will be maintaining a watching brief, and I'm keen to understand what is meant by a more considered approach as detailed in the report and the review as we progress with our plans. So I'm happy to move this motion.
Thank you, Councillor Schubert. Councillor Eddy, would you like to speak to the motion?
I'd just like to thank the officers for the review, and I too will be watching with bated breath to see which direction we go as far as council plans go for it.
Thank you, Councillor Eddy. Any councillors like to speak against the motion? Any councillors like to speak for the motion? No? Councillors, we'll go to the vote. All those in favour? Motion carried, unopposed. Page 37, item 10.4, River Connect Implementation Advisory Committee Terms of Reference. There is a recommendation there. Can I have a councillor put that forward as a motion, please? Councillor Truffle.
Yep, Mayor Saley, I'd like to put forward a recommendation on page 37 that the council adopt the terms of reference, River Connect Implementation Advisory Committee as attached.
Second that motion, please. Brophy.
Second that motion, Mayor Saley.
Councillor Truffle, would you like to speak to the motion?
Yep, I will. Thanks, Mayor Saley. River Connect has been operating for the past 20 years and achieved a number of substantial environmental, social and economic outcomes for the community. The success of the program is embedded in the governance structure and partnerships between land management agencies, education providers, environmental advocacies and the community. River Connect Implementation Advisory Committee provides that guidance and governance structure under the current terms of reference. A review is required every 3 years prior to the recruitment of the members. And some of those members, with a couple just getting on board this year, has been Lighthouse and GV Health, and also along with I was going to note here, partnership agencies, Greater Shepparton City Council, Goulburn Broken Catchment Management Authority, Department of Education, Department of Energy, Environment and Climate Action, Goulburn Murray Landcare Network, Goulburn Valley Environment Group, Goulburn Valley Health, Goulburn Valley Water, Greater Shepparton Lighthouse Project, Parks Victoria, Rumballara Cooperative and Yorta Yorta Cooperative. So you can see there's a number of organisations which this umbrellas, which is very important, and it's our backyard which we're sort of looking after here. And in the conclusion here, the terms of reference are required to be reviewed every 3 years prior to the recruitment of River Connect Implementation Advisory Committee through consultation with current committee representatives, Goulburn Broken Catchment Management Authority and council officers. The review is complete and ready for council to endorse.
Thank you, Councillor Coppell. Councillor Brophy, would you like to speak to the motion?
Thank you, Mayor Sally. Just very briefly, it was a privilege to go along to the 20th anniversary just a few days ago, and Councillor Coppell was absolutely correct. Those partnerships don't evolve unless the actual organisations have a vested interest in the river. And it was, I mean, 20 years ago, our mayor was just finishing high school, and of course our deputy was winning singles at the Shepparton District Tennis Association. But 20 years is a long time, but a lot has happened in that period of time. And instead of turning our backs on the river, what it has highlighted is that the longest and probably greatest river we have in Victoria, 654 kilometres, is now our focus, and that it becomes once what it was, a major landmark and a draw card, and really is our liquid asset.
Councillor Brophy, any councillors like to speak against the motion? Any councillors like to speak for the motion? Go to the vote. All those in favour? Motion carried on opposed. Page 41, item 10.5, Central North Renewable Energy Analysis. There is a recommendation. Can I have a councillor put that forward as a motion? Just a reminder, you don't have to read out the whole recommendation.
Read out the whole document.
Oh,
So happy to move.
yourself in.
So I hope I don't get tongue twisted, and there's a reason for it, because I think it actually sums up the report. And so I think it's worth reading and making sure the community understand it, and there's probably no better way to do it. So, yeah, strap in. But so the recommendation, that council note the Central North Res Review, Assessment of Agricultural, Land Use and Planning Considerations report commissioned by council officers and undertaken by Sequana. 2, note that council officers have made a submission to VicGrid outlining its concerns pertaining to the Central North Res and have requested VicGrid to refine the Eastern Central North Res boundaries to avoid strategically important agricultural land, areas of flood overlays and land subject to inundation overlays, and land where investment in infrastructure has occurred. Review the remaining overlap of the Western Central North Res east of McEwen Road, which includes irrigation farmland within the GMID, which should be removed from the final Central North Res boundary. Engage with the traditional owners to identify and protect areas of cultural significance prior to a formal Res declaration. Undertake a more detailed assessment of environmental factors specifically considered by any impacts on nominated nature reserves in the area. Provide clarification regarding its Scenario 2 assumptions, particularly the extent of wind generation that is proposed and the need for expanded infrastructure. undertake a targeted community engagement process for the eastern section of the Central North Res, including a 2-month minimum program of local sessions and landholder consultation to ensure procedural fairness.
Thank you, councillor Akers. Can I have a councillor second that motion, please? Councillor Brophy.
Second that motion.
Speak to the motion.
I don't think I need to say a lot more because I think that sums it up reasonably well, but this has been a good process, I think, for Greater Shepparton, and I thank our officers for the work that they put in and the consultants that we engaged. We consulted with the community and the community have appreciated that, and we brought VicGrid back to the community to engage with the community also, which they had not done appropriately. The report has identified a number of things. We've spent money on the Cosgrove pipeline infrastructure for better environmental outcomes out in that area, and the report has identified that that should be protected. There is a certain amount of irrigation land, which government policy is that we don't cover in solar panels and wind farms. It's still within the zone recognised within our area, within Greater Shepparton. There's a number of cultural significant sites which VicGrid have not properly identified and excluded in the report. And there is a number of environmental reserves out there at Dookie, which we all know, which also need appropriate consideration. There's the impact if wind should be considered in that area, and there's probably a big question mark whether there's actually enough wind out there to have wind generation there, and the implications for that. And there's also, once again, we're suggesting that VicGrid need to come back and appropriately engage with the community, which they still have not done on their terms. This report did certainly recognise the very productive dryland cropping land in the Dookie area, with average wheat yields of 4.8 to 6 tonne per hectare, 120% above the state average. Land that probably should be retained in agriculture. It would be the most environmentally effective production of food. Similarly with canola yields 105% above the state average, the report found. And consequently, we have agricultural land values averaging $19,000 per hectare, which when we have a state average across wet and dry land of $17,000 per hectare, reflecting the strategic importance of this agricultural land. We took the risk of commissioning an independent report, and it has come back and said there's a lot of questions to be asked. There was inappropriate consultation, and as we know, in the last week or so, VicGrid have come out and announced that they're going out to a final consultation in most of the reses across Victoria, except this north-east central one, and they're proposing to come back and do what we would think is the appropriate consultation with this community in 2026. And I'm sure that is part of a reflection of the work that we've done and the community have done over the last few months in trying to understand what the implications would have. This report will be invaluable in making a good contribution to that VicGrid consultation, I'm sure, for both us as Greater Shepparton and the Dookie community, and they're very appreciative of that and the work that has been done. Once again, we think it's important that we identify the appropriate spots for renewable energy in Greater Shepparton.
Thank you. Councillor Brophy, would you like to speak to the motion?
Thank you, Mayor Saley. Councillor Akers really did sum that up very well. Well done in regards to that. He's been very passionate, obviously being in his area as well. I think the council have acted in the best interest of the municipality with this, in commissioning the independent review, and I think we needed it to be independently assessed, analysed, engaged with and provided valuable feedback so that we can be in a position to make a submission to VicGrid, certainly outlining our key assets. And there are some areas of concern given that this zoning appeared, this area appeared out of thin air really on the second paper that came out from the government. The recommendations contained, I feel, are logical and provide next steps to really go, next steps for us to go where we want to go in regards to our productive agricultural land, which is our food bulk in that particular area. We are very wary though. I mean, let's face it, like, you know, the last few years with the water buybacks and the extension of that by the pretty much non-compromising federal government, we need to make it clear to the state government that this part of the zoning is pretty ill-conceived. Yes, any additional power generated must be near the grid for when they do it. That's understandable. Yet, as Councillor Akers pointed out, it's unlikely to be hydro. It's very unlikely to be wind turbines as well. It's very low area for wind in comparison to other areas that could be utilised. So potentially, it really is only, if they were looking at it, solar or battery storage for that type of energy that to be there. Well done, Sequana, and well done to the council officers who have really put the community first in putting this up and putting the submission in for us.
Thank you, Councillor Brett. Councillors like to speak against the motion? Any councillors like to speak for the motion? Councillor Truffle?
Yeah, thanks, Mayor Sally. Yeah, just the figures that Councillor Akers have given to the value of some of this cropping land here in percentage uptake just doesn't fit the bill as far as putting renewable energy on some of these footprints. It just doesn't make sense. So yeah, it just, the whole thing should be, like you say, more consultation, and some of these areas should be excluded from some of these renewable energies and their outcomes.
Thank you, Councillor Truffle. Any other councillors like to speak to the motion?
Thank you, Mr. Sally. I'm referring to page 45 of 72. Sequana's review identified several inconsistencies between VicGrid's published REZ selection criteria and the decisions reflected in the 2025 VDP. VicGrid's stated principles emphasise avoiding areas of high-value agricultural, biodiversity, sensitivity and flood risk, and ensuring equitable, transparent community engagement. However, the eastern extension of the Central North Res, covering parts of Dookie, Pine Lodge and Cosgrove, contradicts these principles. That in itself is enough for me to make sure that I agree with what Councillor Akers has stated.
Yeah. Thank you, Councillor Schubert. Any other councillors like to speak to the motion? Work that has been undertaken by a team, obviously Fiona through the executive leadership and Geraldine, that have undertaken this work with Sequana. So this, we had to act swiftly with this. Community need to understand that this landed on our lap on a Sunday morning, as all good things from government do. On a Sunday morning landed on our lap where we were originally not included in the draft that was tabled in May. We did ask some questions through that period of time to just understand how they were making their decisions in identifying this land. And obviously we received some sort of high-level feedback, nothing too concerning. And then obviously we wake up on a Sunday morning in the early parts of August and they presented what would be the new renewable energy zone. By the swift action that we took, that triggered VicGrid to acknowledge that they did not engage with community or have appropriate conversations with people in Greater Shepparton to understand how do you take people on a journey to achieve what they want to achieve, but also protect the key assets that sit in and around these particular land. And we speak about agricultural reasons, there's cultural significance, and there's many other factors that have been put forward and identified through Sequana. We've triggered that. You shouldn't have to do this as a local government or a council to get engagement with VicGrid. They shouldn't be putting these things in front of our community and powering ahead with these projects. You must bring community on the journey. We've undertaken that. We've invested money to do that. I hope the good people of the Pine Lodge Ward and out there in Dookie have confidence that we've undertaken the work. And this wasn't about council determining whether we will or won't support a renewable energy project. This was about creating awareness. You don't ambush community. And that's what we've brought to the table now, has created awareness, and we would be expecting, which is what's been tabled now with VicGrid, to undertake appropriate consultation and inform community so everyone knows exactly what's going on, in particular the relevant local government. So this is good work by Sequana and the work that's been done by your team, Jed, and we look forward to what next steps are in making sure that community are clear around what is being proposed in our region.
Bravo.
If there's nothing else, we'll go to the vote. All those in favour? Motion carried unopposed. Page 53, item 11.1, contract number 2441, supply horticulture and landscaping services. As recommendation. Another reminder, you don't have to read it out completely. Have someone move that. Councillor Akers, you want to back it up?
I can back it up, yes. I'll move the recommendation on page 53 and 54, but we'll choose not to read it out as a.
Thank you. Can I have a councillor second that motion, please?
Thank you.
Schubert. Akers, would you like to speak to the motion?
Oh, yes, just very briefly. This is just about the supply of horticulture and landscaping services and a panel of suppliers which have been through the process of the boxes and happy that we've now got a panel recommended here that when officers require work to be done, they've got an approved panel to select appropriately to get the right job done.
Councillor Akers. Councillor Schubert, would you like to speak to the motion?
Just very quickly, Mayor Saleh, there was 21 people that tendered and 20 tenderers were successful. I think it's a really open list of good providers and suppliers in the Shepparton region, so well done, and I hope they all get an opportunity to do some work for council.
Councillor Schubert. Any councillors like to speak against the motion? Councillors like to speak for the motion? Go to the vote. All those in favour? Motion carried unopposed. Councillors, item 11. Contract number 2442, supply of irrigation materials and services. Suppliers?
Conflict with this one, Mayor Saleh?
Ready. Okay, councillors, just again, 11.2, contract number 2442, supply of irrigation materials and services, panel of suppliers. There is a recommendation. Put that forward as a motion, please. Get a mover?
Yeah, I'll
Schubert?
thank you. The recommendation, I won't read it out, I won't do it, Councillor Akers. On page 58, the recommendation listed there, I'm prepared to move that as a motion, thank you.
Councillor Schubert, can I have a councillor second that motion, please? Councillor Wickham. Councillor Schubert, would you like to speak to the motion?
Very quickly, this contract is for a panel of suppliers for the supply of irrigation materials and services. The materials used are predominantly used by the Park, Sport and Recreation Department, other departments such as infrastructure projects, sustainability, environment and events have also purchased from these previous contractors, so well done.
Schubert. Councillor Wickham, would you like to speak to the motion? Councillors like to speak against the motion? Any councillors like to speak for the motion? Favour? I need you, councillors, all those in favour? Charlie? Motion carried, unopposed. Can we get Councillor Eadie back, please? Okay, councillors, page 62, item 11.3, contract number 2450, River Connect Route 2 Shared Path Construction. There is a recommendation. Can I have a councillor put the motion? You have also been provided the copy with the relevant business name as well, so can you please read that one out? That, Councillor Summer.
Thank you, Mayor Saleh. I will move that the council, one, award the tender submitted by O'Loughlin Excavations Proprietary Limited for contract number 2450, River Connect Route 2 Shared Path Construction for the lump sum price of $1,381,316.83, including GST. 2, approve increase to the budget by $264,000, 420, well, you know what I mean. 6, oh my goodness me, here we go, $264,421.57, excluding GST, in accordance with the budget management operational policy. And 3, authorise the Chief Executive Officer to execute such documents as necessary to give effect to this resolution.
Can I have a councillor second that motion? Councillor Wickham. Summer, would you like to speak to the motion?
Thank you, Mayor Sali. I'll read some of the executive summary, which states that the expansion of the Yarna-Gurdy Shared Path network was highlighted as a key priority to provide connection and accessibility between Mooroopna and Shepparton and to the River Reserve floodplain environments. So 5 shared path routes were identified in the River Connect Paths Master Plan. This contract relates to the construction of Route 2, Gemmell Swamp to Kidstown, which will provide a 2.38 kilometre extension of the shared path network. This project was to be fully funded by the Victorian Government Department of Jobs, Skills, Industry and Regions, but due to associated tender costs being over the funded amount of $991,321, the project will require additional funding outside of the available funding for this project. So we need to put an additional funding amount in there of just over 260,000 to complete the project. But when you consider we're getting almost $1 million return, I think that that is a sensible option. The request for tender for the River Connect Route 2 shared path construction was advertised publicly. We had 8 tender submissions, so thank you to them. 6 were from contractors with a head office or depot located within Greater Shepparton or neighbouring municipality, which is pleasing, and 2 contractors were based outside of the region. And obviously, O'Loughlin Excavation Propriety Limited were the lowest priced conforming quotation. They demonstrated experience in shared path construction, capacity and capability to carry out the works under this contract and received the overall highest moderated score. So some people in the community will no doubt raise their eyebrows when they see how much a shared path actually costs, considering it's mostly concrete, but there is a lot of planning and a lot of things that also go into that. In terms of shared paths, it can be argued that we're way behind other municipalities and we've got a lot of natural space and nature reserves that we can unlock for recreation. So this is one way of progressing that. I think it's a terrific thing and I hope that many people in our municipality get a lot of enjoyment out of it.
Thank you, Councillor Summer. Councillor Wickham, would you like to speak to the motion? Any councillors like to speak against the motion? Any councillors like to speak for the motion? Councillor Spinks.
I just want to highlight, this is such an exciting project. It's a continuation of our wonderful shared path network that is truly such a massive jewel for our river environment. The mass of people that enjoy getting amongst our natural environment because of these paths cannot be underestimated. And this new stretch that will go from northern Mooroopna back to Kidstown creates just a whole new opportunity for people to connect, whether that is for recreation or for genuinely getting around. And I think that this is always going to be a good investment. And this, I think, again, I just want to highlight, because we have just celebrated the 20-year anniversary of River Connect, I just want to again highlight, this is their legacy work. This was the project that they really hit the ground running with, and it's a slow and a long-term project, this being just another of the 5 projects with more still in the pipeline. But it's so exciting to see this finally coming to life. The only note of it, it's just an observation and a personal opinion, but I do note that at 2.3 Ks with only 2 seats looking to be installed, I do wonder if maybe we could do that better and look to have more seating options to make it a little bit more accessible along the way. But maybe that's just a comment for all of our path networks, making sure that everybody can fully enjoy them because they're so worth getting out amongst. So I look forward to when we all get to hit the ground on this new path.
Thank you, Councillor Spinks. Any other councillors like to speak for the motion? Councillor Truffaut.
Yep, thanks, Mayor Sali. Yeah, this is a continuation of an ongoing master plan as far as a shared walkway around the area around the greater city of Shepparton, which will open up new areas and give some safety to people who are actually travelling between these spots. And I do notice on the contract details as a consideration to the pricing, which is pipes, culverts, drains, bridge construction and boardwalk construction, along with a number of other things. And I know those things absorb a lot of money, so yeah.
Good point. Any other councillors like to speak to the motion?
Yes, Ali, might just say that the deficit amount is proposed to be transferred from other projects that I believe will come in under budget. So,
Good point. Any other councillors want to speak to the motion? No? We'll go to the vote. All those in favour? Motion carried, unopposed. Councillors, item 12, documents for signing or received over the page 13.1, councillor activities, October 2025. There is a recommendation. Come to councillor, please. Councillor Brophy.
Mayor Saleh, I'd like to put forward that the council receive and note the summary of councillors' community interactions and informal meetings of councillors.
Councillor, second that motion, please. Councillor Wickham. Councillor Brophy, would you like to speak to the motion?
Just to highlight a couple of things, thank you, Mr. Saleh. Certainly a number of activities in the preceding month. In my neck of the woods in Kyalla, we certainly had St Anne's College, their next stage of fabrication facilities there. So back to the trades, which is fantastic. It's really a growing school community, but also a growing community down in Kyalla there. Across the River Road, Neat Line Shep Gold Cup launch was held, so in January this year. It'd be great to see so many people get along out to the harness racing to see the Shepparton Gold Cup. From a business perspective, Hanson Youngkin celebrated 100 years. What a fantastic story that they have, a construction company based out of the Golden Valley and does a lot of work not only locally but across the nation. The Greater Shepparton Business Network, SPC Business Awards were held, their gala dinner, and it was wonderful to see so many new and emerging businesses win awards this year that were nominated, and some terrific speeches of that. Also caring for the community, the Walk for Prems, so important for Golden Valley midwifery and for our region here. They're highlighting, the premature babies that are born in the region, and I think it's an understated area that really raised awareness by the Walk for the Prems. And of course, over the river in Mooroopna, the Orange Sky Laundry Pod, which is fantastic, and for those that want to come along and to do their laundry, and it's so many terrific volunteers that are there for people to bring in their washing, to get it done while they're there. Absolutely fantastic. So that's really caring for the community. So many great activities throughout last month.
Thank you, Councillor Brophy. Councillor Wickham, would you like to speak to the motion? Any like to speak against the motion? For the motion? We'll go to vote. All those in favour? Motion carried, unopposed. Page 71, item 14.1, notice of motion 9/2025, Murchison Neighbourhood House. There is a recommendation. Can I have the council put that forward as a motion? Councillor Spinks.
Thank you. I move that the council work with the Murchison Neighbourhood House to identify a fit-for-purpose location for the ongoing operations of the community group.
Councillor, second that motion, please. Councillor.
Yeah, I'll second, Mayor Saleh.
Councillor Wickham, will you second in?
All good.
Can I have the councillor? Yeah.
That's right. Thanks, Mayor Saleh.
Councillor Spinks, would you like to speak to the motion?
Oh, that's promising. Okay, so,
Alternative motion.
thank you. We don't try to put noms in very often, but this one felt very important. I note that this notice of motion is not asking for a financial amount or a timeline at this point. What I'm trying to do right now is elevate a community priority to be a council priority. The state of play is that we have 5 neighbourhood houses in our municipality. 4 of those neighbourhood houses exist in council-owned assets. The Murchison Neighbourhood House is the exception. So what it means is that each year when we provide financial support to our neighbourhood houses, the Murchison Neighbourhood House have to use that for the operation of their existence. It basically goes to rent, which means the funding that we are providing is not going to the community as it should be. It's creating an inequity for their neighbourhood house, and it is something we need to fix. It's just one of those things that I don't actually know how they ended up in the only not council-owned building. I don't understand what the legacy of it is, but it's something we can correct now, and here today is a priority for us in the future. The neighbourhood houses do incredible work in their communities. They receive every walk of life through their doors, and they serve them all with their arms wide open and with whatever it is that they need. Murchison itself has very little access to many of the services that the centre of Greater Shepparton benefits from. They tend to be out on a bit of a limb a lot of the time. So the neighbourhood house is both incredibly important to that community, and also doing it tough in a lot of ways to make sure that they're serving. We know our neighbourhood houses have seen an incredible increase in the amount of food that they're providing to their communities, the day-to-day just living needs that the communities are needing, and the Murchison Neighbourhood House is no exception to that. So by providing them with, or being able to identify a fit-for-purpose location for them, we'll be able to provide them with the stability and the security that they need to be able to do what they do best without having to worry about the place that they call home not being a permanent structure for them. As well, you know, by going through this identification process, we're actually able to look at it a little bit more holistically for the town of Murchison. We might be able to look at how we can better serve their library facilities and their maternal child and health facilities, even their heritage centre. We can look at what, it's not just about having a knee-jerk reaction to get them into a spot, it is about seeing what will best serve them and what they need. And so a key part of this motion is that it is working with the Murchison Neighbourhood House. It's not us sitting here thinking we know best for them. It is about making sure that we work with them the entire way through so that they know what they need and we help them to get to where they need to go. So I hope that by supporting today's motion in front of us, what we can do is take this from a conversation that has been sort of happening in the background to making it a priority of council to pursue and to walk with the neighbourhood house to make sure that we find them the outcome that they deserve. So, thank you.
Councillor Spinks. Councillor Schubert, would you like to speak to the motion?
Just a couple of comments, please, Mayor Sardi. Look, I've seen from my Tatura experience what neighbourhood houses can do and how well a fit-for-purpose building can work. So this stage, we're only after some support to find an alternative building, and I fully support that. As I said, I've seen how well they work, and if Murchison get anywhere near, say, Tatura, an outstanding achievement. So happy to endorse.
Any councillors like to speak against the motion? Speak for the motion? Councillor Brophy.
Thank you, Mayor Saley. The Murchison Neighbourhood House are absolute stellars for what they do in their particular community. They really do need, as it's highlighted, a purpose fit out, a proper location, and a place where they don't have to have as their biggest outgoing rental costs. They can actually put that back into the community and the program and facilities that they do. A letter of gratitude was just recently received from them at an opportunity that was looked at for them, and that letter, so to Jeff Lodge, their chair, and to Jessie Bell, their manager, we do hear you, we do see you, and we do support you, and that's what this notice of motion was all about.
Councillor Brophy. Any other councillors like to speak to the motion? Councillor Wickham.
I'd really like to thank Councillor Spinks for bringing this issue to the attention of all the councillors and especially the council. They're a very dynamic and caring community in Murchison. As Councillor Spinks pointed out, whether it's the Heritage Centre or all the other groups there that really care about pushing Murchison, sort of the treasures that they have in their community. They do have some issues with some people that are obviously doing it tough, and the neighbourhood house is really doing a lot of great work down there. So it's exciting to see how this can progress and keep them at the forefront of our minds. Thanks, Councillor Spinks.
Councillor Wickham. Any other councillors like to speak to the motion? We'll go to the vote. All those in favour? Motion carried, unopposed. Item 15, urgent business. Put it on the agenda. There's no urgent business. And item 4:03 PM. Hold on.